All right, some big breaking news basically unfolding right now. Labor Secretary Alex Acosta is resigning. He, of course, has been under a whole lot of pressure over his handling of that Jeffrey Epstein case down in Florida. Epstein got a sweetheart of a deal. What was it, Sagar? 13 months
13 months in the Palm Beach County Jail. The Labor Secretary defended himself in an hour-long press conference a couple days ago. Was obviously not good enough for the president. We should note they're on the South Lawn right as we are speaking right now. Alex Acosta saying that resigning was his choice. The president saying, you don't have to do this. Bit skeptical.
He's a journalist. He'll say the facts.
Bit skeptical on that one.
Right.
But very big news from the Labor Secretary.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, clearly the president did not. He judges all of this by the media perception. Right, and so clearly he did not think that Acosta did enough.
Or maybe he learned more about the case. Maybe he just said, you got to go, Alex. This is not going to work.
It's ridiculous that he's hung in there this long, frankly.
Yeah, well, there it is, the power of journalism.
There you go.
A candidate also running for the governor in Mississippi is taking fire for blocking a female reporter from following him on the campaign trail earlier this week. Larison Campbell, who covers politics for the news site Mississippi Today, wrote that Republican State Representative Robert Foster's campaign told her she would need a male colleague to accompany her on a 15-hour campaign trip around the state because, quote, the optics of a candidate with a woman, even a working reporter, could be used in a smear campaign to insinuate an extramarital affair. Campbell has interviewed Foster numerous times, even broke the news of his candidacy. In her article posted Tuesday, she says she and her editor decided the campaign's request was sexist and, quote, an unnecessary use of resources. Foster took to Twitter and invoked the so-called Billy Graham rule in his defense, referring to Christian televangelist who refused to be alone with any woman who was not his wife. Mississippi Today reports Foster, considering a fringe candidate and a long shot to win the August 6th Republican primary, has actually been fundraising off the controversy, claiming he is under attack for his Christian faith.
And you know what? That shit'll probably work for him there. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, look, here's what is so problematic about this view, just so we can take this apart. When you have so many men in positions of power and you are a woman trying to do your frickin' job, this really disadvantages women who are trying to just go to work and do their thing. She offered to wear like a constantly visible sign of her news outlet so that people wouldn't think anything untoward was going on. And it kind of goes to this whole view that women can't be trusted, you can't be trusted to be alone with them. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous. Sagar's
as
pleading
you said, probably works down there.
So, after a rocky start to Amy McGrath's campaign to unseat Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, Congressman John Yarmuth, who is a friend of the show and also the lone Democrat representing the bluegrass state in Washington, said it, quote, might be helpful for McGrath to face a primary challenge before the 2020 election. Yarmuth said, quote, whoever's going to face off against Mitch McConnell really needs to get their game in shape. Certainly Amy would be a favorite in any kind of primary, but I think it would help her. And if somebody else could beat her, they would have demonstrated their strength as well. McGrath's candidacy took a hit almost immediately after she announced she was entering the race earlier this week. On Wednesday, McGrath, a one-time congressional candidate and former Marine Corps pilot, told a local newspaper that she likely would have voted to confirm Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh had she been at the Senate the time of his nomination. Then she took to Twitter. Actually, she first said she would not. She said she would vote for him. Then she took to Twitter and walked back that claim and said that she would not have voted for him. It was a mess. Flip-flop came just 36 hours into McGrath's campaign. And this was after, in her very first interview on Morning Joe, she sort of made herself into some kind of Trump Democrat, which is completely different from how she ran her congressional race. The whole thing's been a mess. You know, I've lived in Kentucky. I know some of the folks there. I think it is likely she will get a primary challenger because everybody is looking at this and going, this is a disaster. This is not going to work. Like, Mitch McConnell is going to take you apart. So
one of the things
Yarmuth, very interesting barometer.
One of the things I love most is the coded language of the South, and might be helpful. About as cutting and deep of a wound as you can get.
It's right up there with bless her heart. Also interesting yesterday, I know way too much about this, but Matt Jones, who's the radio host who's talked about as a potentially formidable challenger in the primary, and also to Mitch McConnell because he has a very unique sort of connection and grassroots celebrity in the state. He said yesterday in an interview that she had an authenticity problem and that he is looking more strongly at getting in. So
watch out, Amy.
There you go. That's your latest update from Kentucky. Sometimes confused, a little bit of a turn here, with nearby countries like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, the northern European nation of Finland has its own very distinct charm, Sagar, including a love for saunas, didn't know that, over 600,000 lakes, also did not know that, and a fondness for reindeer meat. I think I kind of knew that.
I knew that. I've actually spent some time in Finland, 36 hours in Helsinki.
Nice.
But Chef
Sounds like the name
Arto,
of a movie or something.
Chef Arto is the executive chef to the ambassador of Finland. He says one common misconception about Finnish people is that they are quiet and even shy. I do share that view. But his voice is heard throughout his cooking. He's traveled the world and is incorporating his travels into his cooking, and he tells us more about his culinary journey. Let's take a look.
I'm a chef from Finland. I've been working as a chef like 10 years now. I've been outside of Finland 6-7 years now. Before I was working in South Korea, Seoul, for a couple of years for the Embassy of Finland. That was a big difference, but still the same food. But they ate a lot of salmon. Here you guys know you can eat a lot, but they ate like 5 times more. Nobody does it at home anymore. It's my grandmother's recipe, so it's the best one. From Lahti. There is a big lake next to the city, so we eat a lot of seafood. Then of course the root veggies, and we have always the summer potatoes. And just normal Finnish Scandinavian food. Of course we have like burger places and pizza and old stuff, but we eat everything nowadays, I think. Actually, I went to the cooking school after the high school, but I ended up being there only one day, and I went back 8 years later. There was many reasons. There's been queen, presidents, prime ministers, but everybody, even it's not the minister or whatever, everybody will get the same food. We have rye malt. Cannot get it here, even it's a beer country. Normally they love the bread because it's homemade, and I try to do everything homemade. And some of those guests, normally they can taste it. First we will put some cucumber under, Thai style, because I used to work in Thailand. Then we will set 1 slice of bread, some mayonnaise. That one was archipelago bread, and then the homemade mayonnaise with dried tomatoes and pickled onion, and of course the salmon, and soon somebody will taste it.
Next week on Rising, we'll preview and post-game former special counsel Robert Mueller's congressional testimony.
I'm sure that's just going to be boring. Nothing interesting is going to happen there. Of course, Team Rising will be in the house. We're going to get their take on all of the major stories, which will undoubtedly be breaking and which you will be interested in. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday.
See you Monday.